So you can't pick your family, especially if they're just dropped off on your front door. Now, about 20 years ago, my wife and I decided we were going to become foster parents. We wanted to foster little babies and toddlers. So we signed up for classes, and every Saturday we went and took these classes, went through the whole program. At the end of it, they gave us a certificate. Congratulations, you are now a foster parent. We went home and we waited. And a few days later, I was at work, and Mari called. She said, I just got a call. They got a kid for us. I said, great, what's the deal? Said, it's a girl named Tara. She's 15 years old. I said, whoa, wait, who's the 15 years old? I thought we were little kids. And she said, I know, but they were in a jam. They have this kid. They had no place to put her. And so we talked about it. We said, well, let's just do it. So I hopped in the car. I drove home. I pulled up just as the social worker was pulling up with Tara. She gets out of the car. She was tiny, really small. And you could tell as soon as you lays eyes on her that she was feisty and funny, and she was going to be a handful, but totally lovable. So Tara was surprisingly relaxed considering this funny situation. She comes in, we have dinner, it's all good. After dinner, we sit her down, we say, okay, there's a few rules, not too many, but the most important one is you have to go to school every day. Now, there's only 4 more days left in the school year, so we think you can manage that, you know. Anyway, she hangs out, goes to bed that night. The next morning, we get up, we make her breakfast, and I take her to the bus stop. She's got to go across town to school. So I head off to work, and I'm working away. It's late, 10:30. I get a call from Mari. The principal just called that Tara's not at school. She's hooking school. And I was like, oh, gee, this is... We haven't been 24 hours and our kid's like truant. This is really bad. So we're talking, what are we going to do? And we realized, okay, she doesn't know that we know that she's hooking. And so when she comes home tonight, this afternoon, she's busted. And, then we're talking, what do we do? And we've never been parents before. And especially like now we're teenage discipline. And, you can't, a timeout? No, we're just trying to figure this out. So I get off the phone, go back to work. Later that afternoon, Mari calls. I'm really getting worried. She should have been here an hour ago. And I'm thinking we should call report her missing to the police. And I said, no, what do you mean missing? She's not missing, not like milk carton missing. This is like, and she goes, yeah, but, we're responsible for her. We haven't seen her since she walked out this morning. We have no idea where she is. I said, yeah, I guess that's true. Well, all right. So she calls the Boston police, gets this guy. He's very good. She explains the situation. He says, no, you're doing the right thing. We'll put out a call, put out a report. If anybody spots her, they'll just pick her up and bring her home, and, there's no repercussions. Half an hour later, Mari calls up. She's been arrested. I was like, what? I said, Mari, this is the first 24 hours. This is really, really bad. And I go, what's she done? And they said, no, it's just something stupid. The kids were in the train station. They chased them out. They came back. They chased them out again. Eventually, they just picked them up. And she goes, we have to pick her up in an hour at the police station. I'm like, oh, we are really bad foster parents. So I said, well, I'll be right home. So I get in the car. I drive home. By the time I get home, she says, the police call back. They're holding her overnight. I said, what? She's 15 years old. What is this? They said, well, because she was on probation and because she was truant and because we reported her missing, now they have no leeway. They have to hold her and arraign her in the morning. And I said, what are we going to do? And Mari said, we should go out to eat. And I said, what? She said, no, think about it. Tara is safe till the morning. We can't do anything about it, and we're not going to be going out to eat for a long time after this. So we did, and we not only went out and we splurged, and we went to this really nice restaurant, and we had a great time. We were totally giddy and totally guilty at the same time, and we're like, our kid's rotting in jail, and we're living it up. So the next morning, 9 o'clock, we go down to the courthouse. We don't know where we're going, what we're doing. We come in, I ask some guy, and he gets wind of that we are brand new foster parents. And he thinks this is the funniest things he has heard. All of a sudden, he's telling everybody, people are pointing at us in the courthouse. They call the court, we go in. The first 3 cases are very serious cases, like armed robbery and a burglary and a DWI. Then they clear the courthouse, or the courtroom, and because she's a minor, and the door opens up, and there's Tara, little Tara, in a prison orange, like 2 sizes too big, prison jumpsuit. She's got handcuffs and shackles on her feet, and she shuffles in. It was the most pathetic thing you've ever seen. The judge was great. The judge was very stern with her and sort of, kind of rattled her that she was going down a path that was, it was dangerous, whatever. Judge released her to our custody. She went back, got changed. She came out, and then we walked all the way across the lobby. She didn't say a word. We walked out the door, and as soon as we get outside, she said, "I didn't do nothing." And that was our first 24 hours as foster parents. But Theresa only stayed with us for a couple of weeks, and she went back to her family. And as mostly happens, once kids go back, the families generally want to put this whole chapter behind them. And so, we didn't know what happened. But 4 or 5 years later, Mari was in the dentist office, and who walked into the dentist office but Tara, and they had a just big, joyous reunion. So after that time, we had many foster kids, little babies up to teenagers, sometimes 2, 3 at a time. I think it was the hardest thing I've ever done, and the most rewarding, and the most soul-destroying, and the most exhilarating. And I would recommend it to every one of you, to do it. And no matter how crazy things got, we always consoled ourselves with, well, at least they're not spending the night in jail.